All right, CJ Stroud, number 2 here. Brady, you have him number 2. I have him number 2. Little spoiler alert here. Rick has him at 1B to our guy Bryce Young 1A. That'll be a fun conversation in a second. Here's the thing on CJ for me, Brady, is it feels like he's flown under the radar somehow, even though he's played Ohio State for 2 years, at least when we talk about the other quarterbacks in this class. But he might be one of the most consistent. He doesn't throw with the anticipation of Bryce Young. He doesn't have the arm of Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, but he makes plays. And it felt like, and I think Rick agrees with me on this, when we talked to him at the Super Bowl and then we talked to him at the Combine last week, you get a better sense of who he is, and he comes away as a more impressive person and player. Obviously, Danny Cannell said the same thing. Where are you on CJ Stroud, and are there any concerns about what he might be in the NFL?
No, I don't really have any concerns about CJ Stroud. I think, one of the things that we always talk about when it comes to this time of year is like, what's his ceiling? Is he coming in at kind of his ceiling? Like, how much more can he improve? He's incredibly accurate. He's the most accurate passer, in this class. Like, again, he was another player that going to the Combine, I was like, you got two ends of the spectrum. You have Richardson, who's going to wow you with his athleticism, arm strength. And then you have a surgeon in CJ Stroud who's going to literally hit every single throw. He's got plenty of arm strength, and he's going to just be able to ace everything else, every other test he gets. So both those, and then he's going to check boxes too, right? As far as his size and he's not dealing with what Bryce Young's dealing with. So it was no surprise that, you looked at him and you said, okay, like this is set up for him to succeed. My concerns are pressured, clean pocket. You're looking at the stats right now if you're able to watch the screen. And that was something I had noticed, really starting, 2 years ago, and then watching tape, preparing to go on to games and talk about Ohio State and CJ Stroud going into this year. I saw early versus Notre Dame week 1. They had a couple hits, a little pressure on him early, and he was a different player. Iowa, in particular, in that game, a different player. They had a sack fumble that had gone for a touchdown. I think that might have been Iowa's only points in that game, which were defensive, which is no surprise if you watched Big Ten football in Iowa this year.
Shout out to Chris Hassel.
Yeah, but the point is, when he got hit early in games, he didn't have his best games. That being said, I think he showed something, that he hadn't showed his entire career versus Georgia. That was his mobility. He showcased the ability to do it, but even also playing really tough in that game, which alleviated some of the doubt that I kind of had, but also left me questioning, like, where was that his entire time at Ohio State? So, look, my comp for him was Jared Goff, who came from a system like to sling the football around, but it was very accurate, all 3 levels throwing the football, very similar body comp as well to CJ Stroud. I think Stroud showcase might be a little bit better athlete, but the bottom line is I can easily see him being the first quarterback taken in this draft class. It's just, to me, and I'll ask Rick this, like, how much better can he get? When you look at Levis and Richardson, I think you don't have that question because you're saying, oh, they can get a lot better from here. Like, they might end up being some of the most talented players in the NFL. Stroud kind of walks in as almost that.
What do you think, Brady? Yeah, go ahead. What do you think about Brady's question about how much better can CJ get based on what we've seen so far?
Well, the first thing he has, and I agree 100%, is accuracy, because he is the most, besides Bryce Young, he is the right there as far as accuracy goes. And the only thing that I disagree with is because all of a sudden, whatever beast unleashed during the Georgia game, and why haven't we seen that before? But if that beast is unleashed now going forward, then yeah, he can definitely get better because not only can he stand in a pocket, in a clean pocket, and make all the throws very accurately that he's going to have to make at the NFL level, but now if you're telling me off the glimpses we've seen, and I started to see it in the Michigan game, him making off-schedule throws, him making plays with his feet. And that's what I said. I'm sure that's the number one question in everybody's interview room is why wait until those 2 games? And is this what we're going to get going forward? So if this is what we're going to get going forward, then yeah, that's why I kind of snugged him up there to 1B and moved him ahead of the pack of the Levises and Richardson, because I had my doubts too. I said, and as long as he's clean in the pocket, he can throw with the best of them. But he's so mechanical sometimes when the pocket breaks down and he's not processing. But all of a sudden, whatever clicked in his head or whatever clicked with him, came out in that Georgia game. And if you're getting a quarterback you saw in Georgia and that continues at the NFL level, then he definitely has upside and will be a very good quarterback at this next level.
So, Rick, let me ask you, is there a wider number of teams that are a good fit for CJ because he seems to fit more schemes and he's answered more questions than Anthony Richardson and probably Will Levis? Or do you think there's a team in particular that makes the most sense for him?
I think he's just too talented to fit any scheme. And I think nowadays, with the type of quarterbacks that are coming out from the collegiate level, offensive coordinators are more willing to adjust their schemes to fit what that quarterback skill set is. I thought, back before it was in vogue, what Greg Roman did with Baltimore's offense when they got Lamar Jackson. And he's not a pocket passer, but they're a different offense than when Joe Flacco was in there, a quarterback for him. And I would say the same thing about what you saw with Justin Fields and how they adjusted their offense to what Justin does. And I still think he needs to improve as a passer. And I think he made some strides in his second year. But all of a sudden, he's running up and down the field because they did something to adjust their offensive scheme to fit Justin Fields' skill set.